Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dreams to Keys Realty YouTube channel. I am the Essential Millennial Realtor, Jalon Strong, and your host of this channel. If you're new here or you're returning, welcome and welcome back. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any time we go live or post any content to this YouTube channel. Now we're going to talk about our link in the description box, or the link in the description highlight of the week, which is also the link in the boxes on our social media pages. We are also on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. When you go to the link that is in the description box, which is also moving about at the bottom of this screen, you will see a tab that says Preferred Lender. It also reminds you to ask our lender about the grant program. Not all lenders have a grant program or access to a grant program, so feel free, if you're interested, to ask our preferred lender about that program. You do not have to use our preferred lender. However, if you're someone who is interested in finding a lender and you're interested in our services as well, the preferred lenders that we provide are those that we have access to and have built rapport with in business, where we feel that they are beneficial for our clients or our deal clients for the purchase of any residential property in our service area. So if you're interested, please click that tab that says Preferred Lender when you go to the website beacons.ai/Jalon Strong. We're also going to talk about our newest link that was added to that same site, which is the link to Crown First Lady. CrownFirstLady.net is the website. From there, you can go to our separate business. When I say our, I mean this is a separate business from Dreams to Keys Realty that I created called Crown First Lady. And that is where you can purchase First Lady's scalp oil. This is a formula that I created for myself while I was going through my alopecia journey. And I found that it was helpful for me to soothe my scalp, which we know the scalp is like the area that needs attention if you want your hair to grow. If you have irritated and damaged scalp, you can expect that your hair likely won't be able to grow through that or sustain that growth. So the scalp was very important to me during that journey, and I'm grateful that I'm on the hair growth side of things, but I'm able to maintain a non-inflamed and a scalp that is not irritated because of this formula and other lifestyle changes as well. But I found that this formula is one that helps to calm my scalp as well. If you're interested in something like that, please go to CrownFirstLady.net and purchase either the travel or sample size, which is the 1 ounce size, or the 4 ounce bottle, which is the full size of First Lady scalp oil today. And I'll make sure that your orders get out as soon as possible. We typically would say we have delivery within 3 to 5 days, but we have heard reports from our customers that they're receiving their shipments within 2 days. So that's better than we could have expected. Now we're going to talk about the end of the year sale for DTKRealty.com products. The physical products have an automatic discount of 70% off on all physical products. So no ebooks are included in this, but anything like the My Dreams Have Keys collection, where you can purchase a shirt, a crew neck, a hoodie, a journal. Those physical items from DTKRealty.com are going to cease from being available on the site after the 31st of December 2025. So if you're interested in any of those products, this is the best time to get them because 1, they won't be available next year, and 2, there's an automatic discount of 70% off on all those physical products. So make sure that you get those too. Now we're going to jump into our content for today. We're going to be talking about market data for Gwinnett County. I'm going to go and share my screen, and also I'm going to jump into the avatar. so that we don't have distractions along the way. Hopefully everyone can hear me just fine, and I'm going to pull up the content we'll be talking about. We are a little bit behind as far as covering the months. We did change zip codes with the last time we covered this area. So we are looking at October. We looked at September in the last video. We're looking at October this time. And we'll look at November or December for the next month. We will make some changes for next month because we're in a new year. So we like to do some things kind of new. So we'll see if we continue on this path or if we change directions a little bit. But what I will do is make sure that today I review October, but also discuss any differences between October and September for the same zip code. So I hope everyone can see my screen. We are looking at the local market update for October 2025, courtesy of First Multiple Listing Service, FastStats. I have access to this because I am a real estate agent. So this is an MLS that I have access to. Now we are looking at the same zip code for Gwinnett County that we looked at for September, which is 30071. And we see that it covers Norcross in this county or this zip code. Now, we always talk about there are two property types that we go over, residential detached and residential attached. But the key metrics under both categories are the same, and we're going to cover the same key metrics month to month for October and year to date through October of those years. And as I mentioned before, I'm also going to look at September to just see were there any major differences. Let's start with residential detached, which are properties that are not connected, as the name suggests. We're going to start with the key metric of new listings. For October 2024, it was 17. For October 2025, it was 15, showing a decrease of almost 12%. For pending sales, we see for October 2024, it was 14. For October 2025, it was 10, showing a decrease of about 29% in pending sales. For closed sales, we see for October 2024, it was 7, and for October 2025, it was 2, showing a decrease of 71.4%. Let's pause for a minute here and just see what this means. So overall, these numbers are quite low compared to what I'm used to seeing for residential detached properties for these key metrics. These numbers are typically higher. And let me look at September just to see what those numbers were. So scrolling up, those numbers aren't as different as I thought, but overall for this county, I'm used to seeing much higher numbers. So this gives the indication of the cold potentially, or people being away on vacation or holidays or things of that nature. We are looking at October for this month. So there's not as many holidays for a lot of people, but it does get a bit colder. So I don't know, that could play a role in people deciding to move or whatnot, or put their properties on the market. Also, we do sometimes get snow in this area, but not at this time of the year typically, and we hadn't. So I think we don't see as much movement in the zip code for this time of year based on September and October. But what I can say for September is that the pending sales definitely decreased statistically significantly. And the new listings, they decrease, but because the numbers are a bit small, I wouldn't say that that's something that could be felt in the market. Looking at October, the decreases are there, but they're not as significant until you get to the closed sales. Again, these numbers are much smaller, so there's not a whole lot we can take from the percent differences. But what we can see overall is that the numbers have dropped on all three of those metrics. Now, days on market until sale, we know is the cumulative days for those properties that are in that time frame. And we see for October 2024, it was 10. For October 2025, it was 17, showing an increase of 70%. These numbers are quite low still. It may indicate that we have some investors in the market area. So while things are slow, maybe for those who would buy a property and live in that property, maybe this is the time where our investors are more inclined to buy. Even though the days on market until sale did increase, it's still not to a point where I would say it's a buyer's market. This looks like more of maybe an investor's market, if we want to use that term, or a seller's market. Because those investors that have those, let's say, hard money lenders or the funding where they can close in very short time frames could probably deal with this type of days on market until sale very easily. And for a seller, this could be ideal depending on what their plans are. So you could say investors would do very well here, and also sellers. Now let's look at September and see what happened there. So for September 2025, it was 32. So we have decreased when we look at September to October of 2025, almost half. So we were leaning more on like a neutral with that 32. Somewhere around 30 days, we could say it's a neutral market. But 17, you might say it's leaning toward the sellers and investors there. Now let's look at the median sales price. For October 2024, it was $368,000. For October 2025, it was $457,450, showing an increase of 24.3%. This has an asterisk, so there's things we can't consider here, like seller concessions, down payment assistance, but median means the middle point of those sales prices at that time. We see that it has increased. Now let's look at the average sales price. There's an asterisk there as well, so the same consideration. We see that the average for October 2024 was $465,857, and the average sales price is the exact same as it was for the median. That might have something to do with the fact that there were less closings. So we only had 2 when we got to October 2025. So that might indicate why there's no difference between the median and average sales price there, whereas we had 7 in October 2024. Needless to say, in both scenarios, the average and the median sales prices have increased. They increased for median, decreased slightly for average. So I was looking at that backwards. But I would say it's more statistically significant for the median sales price. The average and the median are different calculations, average being all of the sales prices divided by the number of sales prices that there were, median being lining up all the sales prices and finding the one in the middle. When you only have 2, there's not much to look at for a middle point or an average. So there's that. And then when you look at the 7 that sold in October 2024, that's still not a high number of closings. So needless to say, the median sales price went up, but the average decreased slightly. Percent of list price received also has an asterisk, so there's some things we can't consider here as well. For October 2024, it was 100.7%, and for October 2025, it was 100%, showing a decrease of 0.7%. These numbers look amazing compared to what we expect ideally. Ideally, we want to see 100%. If properties are listed as they're valued, then they would, in theory, be bought for those prices that they're listed for. So 100% is the ideal metric, and we're over it in October 2024. Now, again, we have an asterisk, so there's still things we can't consider here. But for October 2025, we're right at 100%. So there's nothing really to take from this because the goal was met in theory. Now let's go to September and just see what happened here. So for September 2025, the median sales price was $365,000. For average sales price, it was $424,488. So both of those numbers are less than we saw for October 2025. The percent of list price received was 98%. Still not bad, but we have a higher percentage now in October. Now let's go back to October and look at the inventory of homes for sale. For October 2024, it was 26. For October 2025, it was 32, showing an increase of 23.1%. So that is 6 more homes for sale. Now, this is the difference between new listings and homes for sale. So the inventory of homes for sale is everything on the market at that time. The new listings are those things that just popped up on the market that month. So those are the two perspectives to take into consideration. Needless to say, we flip-flopped. We had less new listings for October 2025 than October 2024. But for inventory, we have more homes on the market for October 2025 than October 2024, meaning there's some homes that were on the market in previous months that did not sell and they remained on the market. Now let's look at month supply of inventory. For October 2024, it was 2.7. For October 2025, it was 3.6, showing an increase of 33.3% of an increase in October 2025. So we have enough inventory in this market at that time that it might take a little bit over 3.5 months to sell all that inventory with nothing else added. For October 2024, it would have been just under 3 months. So the inventory and the time that the properties are staying on market is contributing to the month supply of inventory metric. For September, we saw that it was 3.5. So we've increased slightly, not much of a difference, 0.1%. 0.1 difference in the month supply of inventory. And the same for September 2024. That's the same difference there for September and October 2024. Now let's look at year to date. So new listings through October 2024 was 140. Through October 2025, 155, showing an increase of 10.7%. So even though October looked like we decreased, year to date, we're seeing more new listings up into this point in 2025 compared to 2024. Pending sales, 100 through October 2024, 87 through October 2025, showing a decrease of 13%. So more new listings, less pending sales. Pending sales kind of give us a clue on what's going on in the market, but you really want to get to the closed sales. So closed sales through October 2024 was 93. Through October 2025 was 87, showing a decrease of 6.5%. So we have the same number of closed sales that we had for pending sales through October 2025, and not as many pending or closed sales as we had through October 2024. Days on market until sale, 23 through October 2024 and 29 through October 2025, showing an increase of 26.1%. Still not bad here. We do have longer days on market until sale than we did for the October months. However, we're not in a bad spot. We're kind of in a neutral spot once you get to October, the through October 2025 column, but we're still sort of in a seller's market when you look at the previous year through October 2024. So it looks like it could be leaning more neutral when we look at the year-to-date data. When we look at the month-to-month, we see something else. So that's why both data points and time points are important to review. Now let's look at the median sales price, average sales price, and percent of list price received. Again, these metrics have an asterisk next to them, so there's some things that we can't consider here. Same type of things we could not consider when comparing month to month. So through October 2024, the median sales price was $460,000. Through October 2025, it was $490,000, showing an increase of 6.5%. That is $30,000 more for the median sales price. So not as high as a percentage change as we saw looking at the month to month. Needless to say, it's still a percentage change, and it's higher than what we saw just comparing the October months. Average sales price through October 2024 was $528,633. Through October 2025, it was $525,199, showing a decrease of 0.6%. What we can say is that the trend remains the same. What we saw month to month, we saw an increase in median sales price and a decrease in average sales price. Same trend with year to date. But year to date is where we're starting to see more of the sales prices being above $500,000. So if you are someone who is thinking of the zip code, but you're also looking at your pre-approval, yes, there are numbers above and below these numbers, but you want to consider also what this market is saying. This market is saying that the sales prices are going higher, even without certain considerations. Are you prepared to withstand that? So are you prepared to jump into this market? Do you want to look for a below average home in this property, in this zip code? Are you fine with that? Of course, there's properties in zip codes all the time with $1 million properties and properties in 200,000, 300s. There's all types of things that come with that. Some of that may mean more repairs. Some of that may mean an HOA. Some of that may mean, maybe your positioning in a cul-de-sac, or, just where your house is positioned. So there's a lot of things to consider, but this is a price point wise discussion that if you're someone who is looking to be a client, someone who is looking to buy a home, when you look at these numbers, think of that and think of the likelihood of you finding your home in this zip code with this rising sales price metrics. Hopefully that makes sense. It's not impossible, but we like to be realistic. Now, percent of list price received through October 2024 was 99.1%. Through October 2025 was 98.9%, showing a decrease of 0.2%. Now, these numbers again are not bad. They are lower than what we saw for the months of October, but they're still quite high, still quite close to 100%. So there's still not much to take from that. Now let's look at the residential attached metrics in the same way. I'm going to stop and just see if there are any questions in the chat. I don't see any questions, but if you have any, feel free to leave them in the comment section. All right, let's get back to the material. For residential attached new listings for October 2024, it was 13. October 2025, it was 12, showing a decrease of about 8%. Pending sales for October 2024 was 11. For October 2025 was 4, showing a decrease of 63.6%. Closed sales for October 2024 was 8. And for October 2025 was 1, showing 87.5% decrease. Now this, again, typically what I see in Gwinnett County are these types of numbers for residential attached, but we saw above that we had similar numbers for residential detached. So I'm not surprised that the numbers here. I was surprised more at them being the numbers for residential detached. However, we do see statistical significance for pending and closed sales, where we have drops here in the month of October. That means we're not selling as much for residential detached or attached properties in the zip code at this time. Days on market until sale, it was 50 for October 2024 and 16 for October 2025, showing a decrease of 68%. I would say that's statistically significant. Definitely with a days on market until sale, it's very much a buyer's market because the buyers have the time to really comb over the market and see what they want. And then the days on market until sale at 16 becomes more of a seller's market. Again, investors might be more interested in this type of market when they can close faster. So sellers might be seeing more of a benefit this year than they did last year in this market. Now let's go to September just to see what possible differences there could have been there. Okay, so the numbers for the new listings, pending sales, closed sales are all low here, though September had 10 closings. And then the days on market until sale was 69 in September 2025. So we've made a great difference in having a decrease in days on market until sale. However, wasn't much being sold. So all of that is to be taken into consideration. For median sales price, again with the asterisk, for October 2024, we have $320,500. And then for October 2025, it was $320,000, showing a decrease of 0.2%. Definitely not statistically significant, but if you're someone who's not really concerned about it being a detached or attached property and you're looking to really have a lower price point, maybe residential attached in this market could be something of interest to you. Average sales price for October 2024 was $351,000. $320,000 was the average sales price. So we have the same trend that we had above with residential detached, where the median and the average sales prices were the same for October 2025. Here it's showing a decrease of 8.8% for the average sales price differences. So here we have a different trend where we have both the median and average sales prices dropping, whereas above with residential detached, we had an upward trend for median and a downward trend for average. For percent of list price received, for October 2024, it was 97.5%. For October 2025, it was 101.6%, showing an increase of 4.2%. Both of these numbers are quite high, but we have crossed the 100 percentage point with October 2025, and we met it in October 2025 with residential detached. So October did very well in this market as far as the percent of list price received. However, we still have that asterisk, so there are some things we cannot consider here. That means that there were considerations being made above listing price for things we cannot know just from this data. The inventory of homes for sale for October 2024 was 18. For October 2025, it was 23, showing an increase of almost 28%. That means that despite the new listings, we had some properties that still didn't sell from previous months and they remain on the market. And those months supply of inventory tell us how long all those properties would need to be sold based on a number of months. October 2024 month supply of inventory was 2.7. For October 2025, it was 4.2, showing an increase of 55.6%. It would have taken just under 3 months to sell all the properties, all the 18 properties that were for sale and were considered residential attached in this zip code in October 2024. For the same considerations for October 2025, for those 23 properties, it would have taken just over 4 months. So it's taking longer to sell the properties. However, they're selling above list price based on the metrics we have available. Let's look at September to see what we can compare there. So looking at the sales prices, we did not cross 300,000 with these numbers. So we do see that median and average have increased when we get to October 2025, and the percent list price received was quite high at 99.5%, but we have crossed over 100% in October 2025. We have similar inventory of homes for sale at 26 in September and 23 for October. And thereby the month supply of inventory is similar with 4.4 in September and 4.2 in October of 2025. Now let's close this out with year-to-date through October 2024, new listings were 102. Through October 2025, it was 115, showing an increase of 12.7%. I believe we also saw an increase of new listings with residential detached. So for this zip code, the new listings were there. Pending sales through October 2024, it was 70. Through October 2025, it was 55, showing a decrease of 21.4%. For closed sales through October 2024, it was 66. Through October 2025, it was 56, showing a decrease of 15.2%. The same trend that we saw above with residential detached, we have more new listings, but less pending and closed sales. I just want to confirm that by looking above, and that's right. So there's a trend going on that I could see with this zip code. Despite the property type, there's more new listings, but less pending and closed sales up until this point. Days on market until sale through October 2024 was 25. Through October 2025 was 41, showing an increase of 64%. I would say that's statistically significant. And this is the first time where, when it comes to this market, even when we looked at September for this property type, I take that back. I was just about to say we did not cross over a neutral zone, but we definitely did. So 41, we're leaning out of neutral and more into buyer. And when we looked at the month-to-month data, we were doing the opposite. We were going from buyer into more seller, more investor type of market. And when we look into the year-to-date, comparing last year and this year at the same time frames, we're looking like we're going from possibly a seller neutral type of scenario to more of a neutral buyer type of scenario. So we're kind of swinging the pendulum there. Through October 2024, for median sales price, it was $307,500. Through October 2025, for median sales price, it was $318,000, showing an increase of 3.4%. So our median sales price increased year to date. Now through October 2024, for average sales price, it was $315,683. Through October 2025, it was $332,902, showing an increase of 5.5%. So whereas month to month, we saw decreases in both categories, year to date, we're seeing increases in both categories. We still aren't reaching the $400,000 mark for both of these metrics, which could be encouraging if you have a client or you are someone who is looking to buy and don't have a particular property type. There are a lot of people that might feel like they want residential detached, and there's some that really want residential attached. If you're more on the neutral side, or you're unsure, or you're not really needing residential detached or have a strong need or want for it, this might be the zip code for you, depending on your pre-approval and all those things. Percent of list price received is the last category for this year-to-date column. So through October 2024, it was 98.1%. Through October 2025, it was 98.7%, showing an increase of 0.6%. Both numbers are quite high, very close to 100%. Obviously, slightly better with October 2025. So there's not much to take away from here, but October did very well for both property types when it came to percent of list price received, and new listings. And this graph, I typically kind of walk through the graphs and just illustrate where they connect. And this I won't spend a whole lot of time on. What I will say is both graphs are indicating the median sales price. And just as the metrics demonstrated, there are some things we cannot consider. We cannot take account for any seller concessions or down payment assistance. So just as we couldn't account for that when reading the tables, we can't account for that when looking at the graphs. The graphs are not accounting for that. This is a rolling 12-month calculation. It is looking at the all MLS, which this is the first multiple listing service, as the MLS here in the gray on both graphs. And then the zip code that we've been discussing that includes Norcross in Gwinnett County is 30071 in the green on both graphs. On the left, you see the residential detached. On the right, you see residential attached. Both graphs start from January 2014 and end up into the data that we've been discussing. As new data is brought in, the old data is fleshed out. What you can see from the data on the left with the residential detached properties is that the zip code here bounced around quite a bit. It does connect with the all MLS data at different points. First point being just after 2015, then it drops below the all MLS and comes to connect again in the middle of 2016. Then it starts to slightly increase above the all MLS, taking several bumps along the way. It crosses again just twice in 2021 with the all MLS. Then it begins to soar in a bumpy fashion above the all MLS and ends the graph where we talked about above. When we look at the graph on the right, which is the median sales price for residential attached, same data points, but different numbers, we typically see with residential attached, the sales prices are lower. What you notice is that you don't have as many bumps with the all MLS and the zip code here connecting. And you also notice that they start at a much lower point, both of the lines. For this zip code, it's starting very low, under $100,000 is the median sales price back in January of 2014. And it begins to soar. The all MLS kind of goes in a steady fashion. The zip code here takes a jump as we enter the pandemic and begins to approach the median sales price of the all MLS just before 2021, drops down again a little bit, and then connects with the all MLS just after 2022 in two different points. And then it drops down again and has a bumpy fashion, but the all MLS does stay above this zip code of 30071 as described above in the tables for residential detached median sales price. So I'm going to stop sharing. So hopefully you can garner from our review of market data the impact of times of year. If you think about people that have families, what's going on in September and October? You know, what's happening in dynamics in the cities that we're covering? What's going on? Is there construction? Is there, the families are just kind of resetting. Maybe they're trying to figure out if they want to move, but they don't want to move in the colds. Different things come into play, and everyone has a different scenario, different life events that make the decision or encourage the decision of whether you're going to buy or sell a property. So many things are taken into consideration, but what we can say looking at September and October is that the market has slowed. However, we do see that the days on market until sale look more of a neutral, depending on the property type. And if you're looking year to date, it's looking more buyer. But if you're looking month to month, it's looking more seller or investor type of market, depending on the property type. And if you were following along with our review, you know exactly what I mean by that. Hopefully, this type of information helps you to understand what you can discuss with your real estate agent when you are looking to buy a property or even sell a property, what metrics might be important to you. For a seller, days on market until sale might be extremely important to you. And also, month supply of inventory might be important to you. For a buyer, you might also want to know about days on market until sale because it might help you to know if you're going to be in a fight with investors and sellers at a different point in the month or in the year. So there's a lot to consider, but that's why you have experts such as myself and our lenders to help guide you along the way, to advise you. Ultimately, the decision is yours. We'll guide you along the process and keep you in line also with any legal issues that you might face. But hopefully you'll catch us as in Dreams to Keys Realty in the next video when we cover Detached County, and we'll see what the differences are there. It does matter the zip code, it does matter the county, and it does matter the time of year. So that's all for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I will review them even if you're coming and watching on the replay. If you're someone who is interested in client services, please go to the link that's moving about at the bottom of the screen. It says beacons.ai/Jalon Strong. Click the tab that says Let's Talk. Schedule a free consultation with me so that we can talk for up to 1 hour about your goals for home ownership. If you schedule a time and you do not attend that time on video, you will incur a $15 no-show fee. Please make sure you schedule a time so you can talk to me one-on-one about your specific journey and what your goals are. Thank you everyone who has come to check out the video, either live or on the replay. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. We would love to see our subscribers reach at least 200. We're at 156, and we would love to keep climbing. Please hit that subscribe button as you're watching or on your way out. Thank you all for coming to Dreams to Keys Realty, where your dreams turn into keys.